Coming up on State of Events, an update on the rising count of war crimes committed by Russia in Ukraine.
And the latest on the manhunt underway in New York after a mass shooting on the subway this morning. All that and more. State of Events starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to State of Events. I'm Jenny Shao.
And I'm Elijah Rutsky. We start today's newscast with a bit of breaking news from New York, as at least 16 people have been injured in a subway shooting this morning. The manhunt is currently underway after a lone gunman in reflective vest and gas mask threw smoke bombs in a subway car in Brooklyn and opened fire. Police say the incident happened just before 8:30 a.m. and that the suspect was seen mumbling to himself before he put the vest and mask on. Officials confirmed that those who are injured are in critical but stable condition. We will be monitoring the situation as more details emerge.
In international news, reporters in BECA, Ukraine, witnessed the aftermath of various war crimes. The most heinous crimes include binding, burning, and shooting civilians. Following that, reporters described acts of looting and seniors being held hostage by Russian soldiers in their own homes. One civilian told reporters the Russians, quote, need to kill someone, and killing civilians is very easy, end quote.
Cleanup efforts have started at a train station in Ukraine after a deadly Russian attack on Friday. With the station out of service, civilians are trying to find other ways out. CNN's Ben Wiedemann has more.
The air raid siren rings out over a scene of carnage past. In Kramatorsk's railway station, a ripped shoe, a discarded hat, a cane left behind. They came to the station with only what they could carry, hoping to reach safer ground, but nearly 60 never left. Lives cut short by a missile. On it, someone scrawled in Russian, "For the children." 4,000 people were here, waiting for a train west when the strike happened. The massacre accelerating the exodus. Most of the residents of Kramatorsk have left the city, having been urged to do so by local authorities, as this part of the country, the entirety of eastern Ukraine, braces for what could be a massive Russian offensive. At the city's bus station, Nikolai, a volunteer, has been helping with the evacuation. For him, news of the pullback of Russian forces around the capital, Kyiv, was bittersweet.
When I heard about Kyiv, that they leave Kyiv, I was happy, but then I realized a couple seconds later that they move in to Donbass, all their forces. I can't say that I'm scary, but I'm worried about my people, about mothers, about grandparents.
Some are heading west, others north to the town of Slovyansk, where trains still run. Oksana and a friend and their children are bound for Lviv in the far west. There's a lot of bombing here, says Oksana. I'm afraid for the children. The children, thankfully, still children. A handful of adult relatives stay behind, far more aware of the danger ahead. Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Slovyansk, Eastern Ukraine.
News. On Friday, the Senate voted to confirm Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, officially making her the first African-American woman on the Supreme Court. While Democrats have a slight majority in the Senate, three-party crossing Republicans Mitt Romney, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski pushed the final vote to 53 to 57, or rather 47. Vice President Kamala Harris was one of the first to speak on the confirmation, saying in quote, "And then we have a moment like this that I think reminds us all that there is so much left to accomplish," end quote.
An academic debate is happening all over the country as states are banning public schools from teaching about systemic racism. Reporter Elias Sokel has more.
Thank you, Elijah. Critical race theory is seeing the role of racism that plays in history and society, and that has become an issue for parents all over.
Critical race theory is a way of seeing the past through the lens of racism. The Heritage Foundation explains racism is systemic and structural. However, many parents in most Republican states are seeing it as a racial divide in schools. Critical race theory has been banned in 7 states, while the other 17 have new bills and policies in place to prevent teachers from talking about racism. Senator of Tennessee Marsha Blackburn introduced a resolution bill back in 2001 to condemn these teachings for K through 12 and advocates on Twitter.
As children, that they should self-segregate because of color, and that they should make selections and judge individuals based on the color of their skin.
Longtime academic and chair of Africana Studies at San Francisco State, Abul Betray, says he isn't surprised and that it's much more than what we are seeing.
It says a whole lot about the mere fact that they're trying to ban critical race theory is a testament to the power of what racism really is.
Teachers around the country are left to face the consequences. A high school teacher in Greenfield, Missouri, didn't expect to lose her job over being accused of using critical race theory in class. Kim Morrison gave her students a worksheet titled "How Privileged Are You?" after reading Dear Martin, an award-winning novel about racism, and received complaints from parents.
We hadn't, as a class, that worksheet wasn't intended to be the discussion starter, right? That was for personal reflection. Let's read the chapter now, and then let's talk about it in the context of our book. We didn't get that far.
Professor of Jewish Studies at San Francisco State, Mark Dullinger, says he hopes beyond critical race theory, systemic racism should be taught in school, no matter the age.
First of all, this notion of critical race theory as a euphemism for talking about racism in America, I first want to say that's what's actually happening. So no, I don't think critical race theory should be taught to kindergartners, because I think you pretty much have to be a graduate student in legal studies to begin to understand it. What we're really talking about is, do we teach systemic racism, white supremacy in our educational system? Yes.
With State of Events, Aaliyah Stokel.
Thanks, Aaliyah. So tell me, what about critical race theory has parents so frustrated?
It's more about bringing in the topic of racism into classrooms, which is a personal topic that some parents believe should stay at home.
All right. Well, thank you, Aaliyah.
And now shifting to the Bay, in San Jose, firefighters on Saturday battled a 5-alarm fire at Home Depot. 30 fire units rushed to extinguish the blaze. The San Jose Fire Department took control of the fire around 11:45 p.m. While no employees, customers, or firefighters were injured during the fire, the roof of the Home Depot had mostly collapsed. San Jose Fire Chief Brad Coulter said that windy weather along with sensitive items in the building made it difficult to safely put the fire out. Mental health among athletes is rarely discussed enough in the media. Here's reporter Callie Lawson-Freeman with more.
Thanks, Jenny. It's been a month since the death of Stanford soccer captain Katie Meyer sent shockwaves across America, making an impact even here at San Francisco State.
27 miles from here, the Stanford University community still mourns the tragic loss of soccer captain Katie Meyer, a loss that has resonated with parents, administrators, and athletes everywhere.
Reports say Meyer's suicide may have been influenced by a looming Stanford athletics disciplinary decision, sparking a larger conversation about the mental health of student athletes.
As a student athlete, hearing about Katie's situation was quite unfortunate for me. It was really sad just because it made me realize that it's not the sport that we play that drives our mental health to go downhill, but it's the program and it's the system that colleges put us in, and sometimes the support and the treatment that we receive makes us feel like where we're not really humans.
After Katie Meyer's death, SF State student athletes received an email from Director of Compliance and Senior Women's Administrator Zoya Volpe. She shared the resources available on campus and expressed support. She says that the first step toward help is expressing the need.
First, I would want them to tell somebody, anybody within the admin, and then we would help them figure out where they wanted to do next. So if they wanted to go to counseling, we'd help them set that up. And so we just try and help out as much as we can.
Wow. Are there resources for student athletes available for the whole SF State population?
Absolutely, yes. Support through CAPS, counseling and psychological services, are free and open to every San Francisco State student, as well as basic needs, which is open to all of us as well.
Good to know. Thanks, Callie. Well, coming up after the break, we take a look at women shattering barriers in sports media.
And later in the show, a self-driving car was caught fleeing from police. You're not going to want to miss this, so stick around. Welcome back to State of Events. As a woman working in the media industry, I can speak firsthand about how underrepresented we are. When you just look at sports media, women are nearly non-existent. Here's reporter Trevor Ferguson with more.
Some of the most famous sports calls of all time.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Travis Ishikawa hits one into right. The Giants win the pennant. McGee with 4. Kemba Walker, step back. Walker, cardiac Kemba does it again.
Different divisions, leagues, and sports. The one thing all these clips have in common, exclusively men are on the call. According to ESPN, just 17% of sports editors are women, and a mere 18% of columnists are women. In some cases, going into work can be a battle every day. Sharks producer Chelsea Johnson has faced her fair share of discrimination to get where she is today.
I've unfortunately had experienced it, but the fact that I have experienced it really generates me wanting to change the outlook and the path for women behind me, because it's not fun.
The percentage of women working in sports media has been on the rise lately. However, a huge gender gap still exists. According to ESPN in 2021, just a mere 14% of sports reporters were women.
I think our industry is changing kind of in the right direction where not that they're more accepting that they weren't before, but they're just trying to be more diverse, which is really awesome.
Many industry experts, including King's pregame live host Morgan Reagan, points a finger at the lack of on-camera role models as to what holds countless young women all over the country from pursuing their dreams.
And it truly is about that next generation and how we can build the confidence in that next generation, how we can empower the next generation. Because if you're doing that with your job, whether you also if you are a coach or whatever it is that you might be, you're doing something very important on this earth.
For State of Events, I'm Trevor Ferguson.
Police in San Francisco executed a very unusual traffic stop recently. Unusual because there was no one in the driver's seat, just passengers in the back. CNN's Jenny Moos explains.
It's surreal enough to know there's a driverless ride service operating in San Francisco.
I cannot believe this is happening.
But imagine you're the police pulling over a car and finding no one behind the wheel. Who you gonna ticket?
Ain't nobody in it.
A San Francisco police officer tried to open the door. The passerby who shot the video said the window did roll down. Everyone's favorite part?
This is the great part. Cop goes back to his car. Robo-taxi says, see ya. Drives off.
The Chevy Bolt cruises through the intersection and then again pulls over and puts on its flashers. Driverless car appears to flee the scene, read one headline. But the company Cruise that runs the ride service says our autonomous vehicle yielded to the police vehicle, then pulled over to the nearest safe location for the traffic stop as intended.
Are you serious? How did that happen?
An officer kept reaching inside the car, trying in vain to turn on the headlights. The fact that they were off was what police say led to the traffic stop. Or, as someone tweeted, why was this driverless car behaving as if it was completely drunk? A company spokesperson says human error led to the lights being off. No ticket was issued. Police said that during the stop they made contact by phone with the remote operator. The driverless cars have nicknames like Poppy. The one that got pulled over is named Rigatoni, and for a minute, Rigatoni looked like it was in hot water. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
Wow, I bet that was one expensive ticket.
Sure was. I don't know how much this ticket would be if this guy really got caught, but for a car named Rigatoni, that is definitely one expensive bowl of marinade.
And in entertainment news, the slap that was felt around the world generated major repercussions. As of Friday, the Motion Picture Academy banned Will Smith from attending the Oscars or any Academy event for 10 years. Although he's still permitted to be nominated and win an award, he's prohibited from physically attending to accept it. Smith said, quote, "I accept and respect the Academy's decision." In the meantime, Smith is allowed to keep the Oscar he won for Best Actor. Coming up after the break, last 2 weeks, the heat wave, it's been locked up in the Bay Area forecast.
And the Cherry Blossom Festival makes its return. All that and so much more next on State of Events. Thanks for the cue. I didn't know that was a cue.
A beach vacation in the Bay Area is now possible with temperatures rising in the 80s.
With April showers and wind in the forecast, the Easter Bunny might need to break out his umbrella and coat. Bay Area weather has gone from warm to windy as we start the week. At Alameda Beach, we can see the waves getting stronger and overcast skies hanging over San Francisco. Currently, winds are as high as 25 miles per hour in Oakland and as low as 5 in Mountain View. But San Francisco is holding steady at 21. Wind gusts are starting to pick up the pace as we look north to cities like Napa and Fairfield. Temperatures have dropped from the weekend highs of 63 degrees to a chilly 51 in San Francisco. We see Fremont with the lowest temperatures of 49 and highs of 57 in Napa. Other East-based cities like Oakland and Hayward remain in the mid-50s. The Bay Area isn't the only part of California experiencing unusual weather changes. Los Angeles topped out this weekend in the 90s and now seems to be plummeting to the mid-60s, while coastal cities like Santa Barbara climb to 73 degrees. The 5-day forecast shows rain every other day, but Easter Sunday is expected to be sunny with highs in the mid-60s.
Is the rain expected to hang around for a while?
Yes, it is. We are supposed to see a bit more rain next week.
All right. Thanks for the weather, Stacy.
No problem, Elijah.
Speaking of sun, many San Franciscans are debating on whether Great Highway should remain car-free to pedestrians or open for cars. Our reporter Yesenia Zuniga spent a day on the beach to get the story.
Whether you're driving past the ocean horizon or riding your bike across the beach, the Great Highway is a sensitive subject to all. However, the city has yet to make another legislative decision on the Great Highway.
The Great Highway spans from Lincoln to Slope Boulevard in San Francisco's Sunset District. Visitors cross the highway to skate, ride bikes, walk dogs, and visit the area. It sits beside Ocean Beach. In 2020, during the pandemic, the San Francisco Park and Recreation Department closed off the highway to cars. City officials did this to create a COVID-safe space for residents during a time of lockdowns. The highway car closure resulted in an 80,000 visitor increase within 6 months, according to the park's website. The park also recorded its highest visitor rate in January 2021, welcoming over 11,000 travelers in one day. Some residents believe the area is a place for everyone to enjoy.
I would say completely car-free because it is an a safe access point for people. There has to be more work and more intention for that.
Recent legislation ruled the highway would be closed to cars on weekends and select hours on weekdays. A local group called the Great Highway Park started a petition to keep the highway closed and become a park for the public.
As you can see here at the Great Highway, many residents resort to this area as a means of a vacation and a beach getaway. However, some residents don't believe it should be entirely car-free.
Another group in opposition, called Open the Great Highway, believes closing the roads leads to commuting traffic. The group says on their website that using this road offers fast driving alternatives that lower fuel emissions for the environment. One resident believes keeping the highway open to cars is the right thing.
You know, it sounds great, but in practice it's not. It creates for a lot of traffic congestion, but those who need to commute, which are a lot of people that live out in this community, it's a pain in the ass.
Unfortunately, State of Events was unable to get statements from both groups. The last decision made on the Great Highway was in February of this year. With State of Events, I'm Yesenia Zuniga.
Thanks for that, Yesenia. Do you know how I can take action on this issue?
Absolutely. So as of right now, all we can hope for is really connecting with those local groups as shown in the package. And you can always contact Supervisor Gordon Marr as well to just put in your input and how you feel.
All right. Thanks, Yesenia.
Elijah and
The Great
Yesenia,
Highway
thanks for that. Spring is in the air, and one San Francisco neighborhood is all about celebrating that. Japantown is hosting its 55th annual Cherry Blossom Festival. It's making its in-person comeback since the pandemic. The event will be taking place at Peace Plaza on Post Street. The event will continue for 2 days. The first day is on Saturday, April 16th, and will start at 11 a.m. And the second is on Sunday, April 17th, beginning at 12:30. There will be multiple booths with various activities inside. The center's mall, some activities include a sake ceremony, calligraphy, cosplay, showcases, traditional music concerts, and much more. Event organizers say this festival was made to celebrate the coming of spring and support the town's local business.
So after SOT, it's going to come back to you. The community and local businesses, I would say Cherry Blossom Festival is back. So come by, drink a Sapporo beer and Cherry Burger and have a good time.
The event is free of charge. There will be both indoor and outdoor activities. You can volunteer and RSVP for the event at sfjapantown.org.
Time we have for you this week. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
And don't forget to subscribe to our State of Events channel on YouTube. For State of Events, I'm Jenny Shao.
And I'm Elijah Rutsky. Have a great day.